At the moment, we have a big problem with the labor that is exported. We are exporting house helps, you know, and that's a real problem, because in there we have so many people who are mishandled because house helps have no skills. Instead of exporting house helps, we should be exporting skilled labor. Plumbers are paid very well anywhere in the world. Yeah, and that is why we are targeting TVET, so that even as we export labor, we are exporting labor that is properly skilled and trained. The diaspora 340 billion shillings is part of why we must target, because that money must go, part of it, we must create products for you to invest. Create products in healthcare, create products in NSSF, create products in investment where you can invest that money and get a good return. Many of you guys live in countries where even if you put your money in the bank, you will get up 1%, maybe 0.5%, maybe 2%. That's right. We can give you 7%. You know, we should have products that you can invest in your own country. In any case, we are borrowing from the Euro bond, for example, is at 7%, 8%. Why don't we have a product where our own people can earn that 7% or 8% instead of them keeping money in the US or in Europe, where I'm told even some other countries like Japan, if you take your money to the bank, you pay to keep money in the bank. It's negative. You know, the interest rate is negative, which means they deduct some of the money for you to have the money in the bank. So these are the products we must develop with the diaspora. And I believe that we should have a minister of state, either in Treasury or in the presidency, to take charge of diaspora affairs. That is my position. Because diaspora gives us 340 billion. We have a ministry of devolution, for example, whose responsibility is how we spend the 340 billion we give to counties. If we have a minister responsible for devolution, which is spending money, why don't we have a minister for a group that gives us 340 billion shillings? When we came into office in 2013, the whole program of Ways of Fund was actually part of a program that we wanted to roll out, where we would support small businesses that require 10,000 shillings, 20,000 shillings, 50,000 shillings, 100,000 shillings, very small enterprises using government money that do not, people who don't have collateral, people who do not have tall friends who can stand in as guarantors for them. And we have a government program called that works on group guarantees. You know, and we have tested that project and program, and it works. So next year, God willing, we should be able to scale up financing for small enterprises. And my intention is that we should be able to put as much money as we are putting in CDF. We are putting 100 million plus in CDF for every constituency. We should be able to put 100 million, a similar amount, 100 million plus every constituency to support small scale enterprises and to build enterprises from the bottom. And therein comes the bottom-up model or economic model. I have had a long discussion with many experts, and David D will bear me witness, on how we need to rethink about universal health coverage. You guys know how health can be a very expensive exercise. In fact, health is amongst the reason many families are impoverished. When their loved ones go to hospital and the bills come in hundreds of thousands and millions, people sell all manner of things because health is important. People sell property, sell livestock, sell all the savings. And so we need to sort out.
The idea of the hustler nation and the bottom-up model is very clear. You can see that Kenyans are already waiting. In fact, they are ahead of us, as both yourself and Dr. David Ndii indicated, that they are waiting on the fringes of the economy. They are knocking at the door of the national economy, waiting for inclusion. But the models, structures, and policies that we have in place try to farm them out there, to lock them out firmly. And their effort gets further frustration out of deliberately distorted and even malicious propaganda against the bottom-up model. If you were to take a quick drive around Nairobi, you would see that the frontage of the entire Nairobi has got the face of the hustlers. You can put up a brand new supermarket edifice somewhere. Within a few days, you'll find that the hustlers have taken up the entire frontage. There are kiosks mushrooming. There are people who are trying to sell bananas. There are people who are trying to do their shoes. They're trying to do second-hand clothes. It doesn't matter where it is, you will find that the hustlers are there knocking at the door. The mama mbogas are there knocking at the door. And as Dr. David Ndii explained rather clearly, we criminalize them. We criminalize that enterprise. The sad thing, of course, being that you cannot criminalize and exclude them forever, because they start coming almost like a tidal wave. If you go to the city center of Nairobi, you will now find that the big shops that used to be owned and run by Asian dukawalas have been taken over by the hustler nation. They have been subdivided into little kiosks, little tables, and the people who used to work there have had to find themselves on the margins of the city, in the fullness of time, even where they have gone. For example, there are those who went to high ridge places that you call Diamond Plaza. You get there today, you find the hustlers at the frontage. You go to even places that have been thought to be the exclusive preserves and residential areas of the high and mighty. They have been taken. So the hustlers are there, they are knocking, they are saying, make space for us, regularize us, include us in this economy. We want to be part of it, whether it's through the cooperative model, whether it's through selling of my milk at the dairy and getting paid at the end of the month, whether it is through my farm produce. So we need platforms of communications that are going to enable all of us to reposition this conversation, that it's not sounding like some aberration.
So what we must do as leaders is we must have to have the right attitude to be able to forge our country forward. Your Excellency, let me thank you for the dialogue that you have begun of the bottom-up economy. Some of the challenges that we face today, we will need the expertise of people like Professor Ndi to be able to make your dream for a better Kenya possible. And I want to thank you that you have thought about the diaspora. We have supported His Rightful Honorable Raila Odinga in 2006. We have supported yourself and the president in these past few years. But the diaspora continue to be left outside. The diaspora agenda has not been addressed, Your Excellency. Because the team that you look at today here, this is a team of expertise, talents, big minds, who can be able to transform our country when equipped with the right resources.
Thank you. Personally, I'm very happy, I think, because in you, we see the aspirations for many of us. Your bottom-up economic empowerment is something that we've been craving for a very long time. So we are very grateful that we have found a champion in you. And as we will continue to develop your, to contribute towards the development of your policy and platform, I only have a comment, not a question really. Most of us follow what is happening in Kenya. And we have seen the criminalization of the hustler narrative. And so many times on social media, we get flukes. The comment that I get most of the time, how is it possible that you, with a PhD holder, can still ascribe to the vision of Dr. Ruto? And I tell them because I see in Ruto a person who is dedicated and committed to doing what he says he wants to do. But also I see the importance of the message that he is trying to put out there. This is a message about empowering the majority of people. And over the years, I think we have been able to convince many people, and they have bought into that narrative. I would want to appeal to all of us that are in the diaspora. We do have a very important voice. Let us go out there in the social media, those of us that believe in this notion of the hustler movement, to continue to strengthen it, to speak about it, to encourage people to join the movement, to continue to defend it, because if we don't speak, then we will allow the other people to take control of the narrative, which in my opinion is not the best that we can have. Thank you.
Some of the issues that we are seeing of NSSF and NHIF, sort of social security, healthcare, sort of financing and stuff like that, those anomalies are a reflection of those institutions being legacy institutions, which were actually no longer fit for purpose because they were designed to provide like health insurance for mostly public sector and corporate workers working for white collar workers, if I may use that language. And we have not adapted these institutions to deal with the reality of the workforce that we have today and where that workforce is located. And more fundamentally, if you look at those institutions, their structures are payroll-based. NSSF is payroll-based. NHIF is payroll-based. The 17 million people we are talking about are not on payroll. They don't have even frequent sort of like regular monthly or wage sort of packet that you can structure this about. So we have a lot of legacy institutions which are not fit for purpose. And the structure of the workforce will not change. What you have, unfortunately, in government is because of that's the nature of governments and organizations, is they're trying to panobit the society to fit into the institutions they have. Instead of, so they say the problem is the people need to change and stop doing these things they do informally. And they become like the people who are white collar in terms of the, and that's not going to happen. So I think the most revolutionary thing about the hustler movement is to acknowledge that this is the reality of our society and economy, and that the failure to align our policies and institutions to the economy is costing us very, very heavily.
I think you have addressed a couple of things that I wanted to mention. The issue of, I think we all believe that whoever becomes president, we believe probably will be you, will inherit a very indebted country. And so that was one question that we had regarding debt. Another concern that we have in the diaspora is, you know, those remittances are quite high, and it's a lot of them are reluctant remittances. So we don't send money just, you know, we send money out of the goodness of our heart, but we wish we had people who are self-dependent in Kenya who wouldn't need us to be keeping on sending money for this request and that other request. So the upliftment of the economy is something that resonates with us in the diaspora. So my final comment, I think it's a comment, but also a request and a question, is that obviously as people who have voted and planning to vote, there's always the concern that we have these engagements with candidates. They do speak to us, they listen to us, they hear from us. And then once, you know, once they're elected, then, you know, we get forgotten. So I think the comment from my side is, you know, this engagement should go beyond 2022 when you do become president. We do hope that it will be a thing that will be carrying on. Obviously, the diaspora is made up of a lot of technocrats, a lot of very good minds that we've heard from this evening, and there are even more.
Some of these things are administrative, and once we understand them, the question you asked is that what is the way forward for diaspora engagement in terms of housing programs, affordable insurance, economic blueprint, and farming and all that stuff? My action points that maybe a point or two I could have given is, number one, begin by diaspora representation. We could begin by diaspora representation in the office of the Deputy President as we work our way into finding a CS to work on the diaspora. Secondly, I will have proposed that we have this segment, say housing program, that we take in 2 weeks, we have a meeting just to entirely talk about and address the issue of housing and how diaspora is going to be engaged. The other 2 weeks, so that we can exhaustively address such issues. Then we probably ask for a monthly meeting with yourself. Once we have engaged on these issues, then we could be easier to save time and also give you a mind on our position as diaspora. But I cannot emphasize enough, like you have heard, Your Excellency, that diaspora representation is the beginning to have Team Diaspora engaged with the Hustler movement. Thank you. May God bless you.
Thank you, Balozi.
We have not talked about the biggest threat today in Kenya is the threat to the constitution, you know, and constitutionalism. You know, the threat to the legislature, the threat to the independence of the judiciary, the threat to even the executive, and the threat to devolution. Kenya has one of the best constitutions, the 2010 constitution. Unfortunately, you were one of the people who opposed, and you had very good reasons. But I'm sure now you will tell us that this is a good constitution with a very good Bill of Rights. And I want to urge our colleagues in the diaspora that you need to go out of your way. You need to talk to our friends who invested, you know, like the US, the UK, and other countries who invested heavily in us reaching where we are today. Because even if we want to empower our people, the tax regime in Kenya, we want to look at even our foreign policy. I mean, I am sure we were between 2013 and 2017, our foreign policy was the best in sub-Saharan Africa. Name it, from Obama to the Pope to Erdogan, everybody, to China, everybody was coming to this country. But today, without any fear of contradiction, even we are not doing very well at the regional, at the East Africa community. We're not doing very well at the Horn of Africa. So I think as we discuss all these, we must, all of us, both here in Kenya, our diaspora, we must protect the Constitution. We must not allow impunity. Court judgments must be respected. We must make sure that the legislature is independent. We must make sure that the judiciary is the last arm of government that any Kenyan, whether in the diaspora or in the country, can run to. You know, so today you see so many things happening, but I want to assure our colleagues that I've just tweeted, Your Excellency, a long narrative this evening when we were starting on why extension is not visible. And I've quoted a number of sections of the Constitution. There are many who have different opinion, but I want to say that those are the kind of things that we should not allow. And we should not allow the COVID pandemic to be used to reduce or deny Kenyans their freedom of association, their freedom of expression.
His Excellency, the Deputy President, thanks so much because you've given us an extensive policy talk. For us here in the UK, I think we just thank you because this is an anchor. We will unpack it within the UK context. And it's beautiful just listening to the way you have drawn it from the global to the local. Your talk about the road network, the electricity connection, TVET, emergency jobs and housing is fantastic. And we, in the UK, we are not going to ask you any questions because this is a conversation, this is a dialogue. We are going to look at it from the UK context. UK is going through a process that is called Brexit. They're trying to reconnect with the Commonwealth, the former colonies, and there's so much that's going on there. And even looking at jobs in itself, 70% of Africans are 35 and below. They're young people. They're really struggling, and you have been their spokesperson, and that's a fantastic opportunity we have in Africa and in Kenya. If you look at a country like Philippines, all the nurses we have here in the UK are from Philippines. They send back money there, and this is an opportunity where we can grow our local economy to provide jobs, but also to build up our competence at the world job market. And we are, in the UK, we are not going to ask you any questions because you've just given us a large framework. We are going to sit down, we're going to unpack it, look at the UK context within these perimeters and work around that. The MPs in the UK, the House of Lords, Chatham House, where you spoke to quite candidly in 2019, we are just looking at the top level policy anchor. And we thank you so much. And we thank Eliud Owalo and the team in Kenya for putting this out there so that we think it.
We must, as a matter of urgency, implement the plan that would create jobs in Kenya. We must, as a matter of urgency, provide a government program working with the private sector that would put resources in the hands of Kenyans to do business, grow small, ordinary businesses from the bottom. The more people who work, the more people who do business, the more savings we have, we will progressively generate enough taxes and enough savings to be able to finance our development. And we will progressively begin to address the big elephant in the room at the moment in Kenya, the elephant of debt. We will begin to address it. And unless we do that, and that's why I'm saying it's urgent, I am sorry, we will have a problem. The hustler story cuts across Kenya. It is not about a community. It is not about a region. The people we are talking about jobs is across Kenya. The hustlers, we are trying to get them to do business is across Kenya. And that is the competition that's going to be there in 2022. Our competitors on the other side are telling us the problem is the constitution. The problem is ethnic arrangement, that you want everybody in government, you know? Those are things I don't believe in as a person. I believe the strength of any government is a vibrant opposition that tells government when it goes wrong. I don't believe there is a problem with our constitution. And I have no quarrel with whatever changes are being proposed. But it is not true that that is the problem we have.